right.
Well, if we want to get going, I mean, before we start, I would like to recognize that we're on the ancestral and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. It truly is a privilege to live, work, and play on these lands and be able to present with you today. So, as you know, my name is Patricia Luft, and I'm the Assistant Property Manager at Willowbrook Shopping Centre. I was formerly in the Accounts Payable Department in downtown at head office 8 years ago. I'm completing my Provincial Instructor's Diploma, and part of the requirement is that I do a live lesson. So I thank you for being my guinea pigs. I chose something that I had just recently learned 4 or 5 months ago. I thought it really related to some things directly with work. I mean, as I was telling Kavitha before you guys joined, I mean, I guess I could have presented on, like, you know, how to reconcile AR or construction manager, but I didn't think it was very fruitful because you guys would be like, why am I here again? Like, there's QRGs, there's all this other stuff out there. So I kind of picked something, and here we are. So again, when I thought of ideas to present about, I noticed that one of my most recent courses related to the Ritz-Carlton training that Quadrail was offering at the time. And I had a few aha moments about how it also related to the service excellence that Quadrail preaches. Service excellence, customer excellence, operational excellence, whatever we call it a few different things. So if we just so that you know what, how we're defining customers, I took this from the town hall slideshow back in March. Customers include tenants, residents, visitors, and each other. So when I say the word customer, it's not just maybe how we think a tenant. So I'll send out a poll just to get the creative juices flowing. Nicole had actually told me that not everybody attended the Ritz-Carlton training. I did not know that. I thought it was like mandatory across the board. And so I think what we'll do is I'll just send out a poll to see how many people have, it should be in the chat, how many people have actually taken the Ritz-Carlton training. And this is actually going to work for me today. My templates, yep. So sorry, did you get something? I don't see anything in the chat. That is so interesting.
We can just see your screen where you are showing the poly stuff.
Huh. That's really interesting. So it was working for me before. Oh. Huh. Well, okay. So how many people here have actually taken the Ritz-Carlton training that Quadrail offered? I mean, I'm not sure. I'm just trying to figure out how many people actually understand, what I'm referring to.
I wonder if people could raise their hand if they took the training, and then people who didn't maybe can just leave their hands down.
Oh, here it is. You should probably have it now.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry.
In the chat now.
Yeah, it was just different. I apologize. Okay, so it's 60-40, so it's almost across the board, half and half. And then, do you feel you take ownership of your role? I know it's kind of, don't worry, I'm not telling your boss. This is a safe space.
Yes. I do. I always feel like I take ownership for for my role.
And that's why I think that what I mentioned last week was that we're talking to a group of, we're in the PMA supervisors group. I think that what we've done is kind of shown ourselves that we do. So it would be different if it was perhaps a different group. And then do you feel you give your customers 100%? So it looks like we're 75%. Okay. And then I don't know why I transferred over to that.
With the giving the customers 100%, one thing for me, that question was that sometimes we're spread thin. So,
Yeah, honestly, we'll get to that. I know. I just, whether it's external reasons or internal reasons, just, like are we giving customers 100%? So is the screen not sharing to the PowerPoint again?
No, it's showing your poll.
Lovely. Okay, so we're just going to switch it over. Sorry.
While you're doing that, Emma has her hand up.
No, that was just for one of the poll questions.
Oh,
Okay.
Sorry, take it back down.
I apologize. Okay, we're back again. That's weird. When I was testing this it didn't do that, and I really apologize. So I'd like to introduce you to the meaning of autodidact. An autodidact is a self-taught person who teaches themselves by combining curiosity, structure, and feedback. Autodidacts often do the readings, attend the tutorials, and study themselves as real-world examples. One thing that COVID taught us is that people are not autodidacts. They flounder without direction and having to manage things on their own. Basically, if somebody is not teaching or telling them, they become lost, and perhaps they do the bare minimum when somebody is not watching. So what I learned was to adopt a different concept of review, and that's called self-review. It's taking personal inventory, being your own boss, and assessing yourself. It's really turning the critical eye inwards and finding areas of improvement and teaching yourself to do better. I'd like to introduce you to part of the PIDP course I took called Of, For, As Learning. It explains how we learn from the different forms of assessment provided to us and relates directly to the service we'll provide that we provide our customers. So I'll break it down. Of learning, we all know. This is when you get your year-end performance and your boss rates your behaviors on a specific scale and gives you feedback. So, take note. Again, this only happens once a year, as you know. So for learning is best described as your mid-year review. This is a part-way touch base to review your work behaviors and say what you've done well so far and give you ideas on what you can do better. This mid-year assessment is a check-in that doesn't come with a rating or a final score. It happens once a year if you're lucky, because I know that a lot of us don't even get that check-in. So what happens between those times? Look at the large gaps in the year. I'm not sure everyone's set up. Maybe you have a boss that hovers over you and you guys work really closely together and you're getting constant daily feedback. Or maybe you really only get feedback those 1 or 2 times a year. If no one is giving you feedback and you're coasting under the radar, are you just doing your thing, or are you trying to improve on your own? So that's where the as learning concept comes in. What if you could be an autodidact and assess yourself and use that self-assessment to grow on your own? This method is reviewing your own actions and providing your own assessment and growing from that. So, to be completely transparent, I don't know, there's a couple examples that I happen to think of with myself. And after the RITS training, I was thinking about how I interact with customers face to face. I noticed that when people with English as a second language came in, I tended to raise my voice. Now, not in anger, I was just trying to be more clear. But I started to review that interaction and, gave myself some feedback saying, well, they struggle with English, not hearing Patricia. So that's something I reviewed on my own, and I looked at ways that speaking slower and enunciating more would be a lot more effective than speaking louder. So I'll give you another example. Sometimes old emails I've sent have come back into circulation, and I was like, wow, I wrote that. Just like Janelle had said and mentioned before, I now employ AI to drive the tone of my emails because I don't realize all the time how my written text is coming off. So, I'm so busy sometimes churning out emails that maybe I'm not thinking about, the person and, the care and tone. So, what are ways that we can become autodidactic? So, for one, I think that taking advantage of all the training, all the drop-in sessions, the PMA meetings, the MS Teams collaboration groups, utilizing Accelerate, attending workshops that are offered to you, like the Ritz-Carlton. I know Office has an ambassador program, I think. Taking advantage and deep diving into everything available to you is a great start at being autodidactic. Sometimes I'll just be listening in a meeting to something I know quite well, like year-end recoveries or whatnot, and I'll just have half a headset open like this, just to kind of catch something. Because if I just catch one little tidbit, like something that I didn't know before, I think that's very beneficial. Like I've now grown. I've added tools to my toolbox. So what I thought that we would do, I'll just ask a series of questions, and I'd like you to think, jot down. This is casual. I want to keep this simple. I just want to try to see if you get anything out of this, what you would do in each situation. So we'll have a discussion to try to see where everyone's thoughts and suggestions are. And, there's no wrong answers. It's just to kind of get an idea of what, as learning and autodidactic is. And I can even walk through the first one with you. So the situation is simple. A tenant has short paid their January and February rent. So you're going to send an email, and you want to send an email to them about this. What are your key points? Like just in bullet point, short form. What are we telling them? What are our key points that we're going to mention? And I mean, you guys can let me know if you want, or I can walk through the first one. It's just a discussion. Sure, Kavitha.
I usually send them an email, sending the old email for the RAN and say, hey, just making sure you received our RAN, which we sent it. Please update your rental payments, and this is the short payment. Please add this to the next rent, or something like that. Just a small, brief email, just like following up the January, I usually send it once. In February, I send it twice. And from March, I send every week. It's like that.
I think, yeah. So the fact that it's January and February rent too is it's likely it's likely part of their step up.
Right.
Sorry, she has something in the chat, Nicole. Wish them well. Advise them of the see, that's where AI comes in because I don't have that. Advise them of the short payments with specific amounts, dates charged. Please provide them payment will receive. Thank them for their time. Yeah, I mean that's.
I try to do like a positivity sandwich type thing where you go in and you greet them, let them know that we're not just demanding the money of them, touch base with them as humans as well. Let them know that the charge is outstanding and then see when it's going to be received and thank them again politely for their time, sandwiching it.
Right. And Nicole?
Other
Nicole,
sorry. Yeah, the other Nicole. Mrs. Anderson. There is you had mentioned about ESL. There is a cultural component to people owing money as well. Here it's a civil matter and it's not a big deal. But if someone is coming in from another country, especially like in retail where you have a lot of people who own businesses that have emigrated recently, they might be really concerned about owing money, because in some places owing money is a criminal matter. So I've actually
very true. I have noticed that, Nicole. Very true.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like people are frightened when they get something, right? So, being aware of your authority when you're speaking. So, I do like Nicole's approach as well as Kavitha's approach. Like, Kavitha's the friendly phone call. Nicole's is like the positive sandwich. I think that really is good to kind of reassure people. And even verbally, you could say, you're not in trouble. This is just an administrative, we just need a payment kind of thing. Right. So, yeah.
No, very true. There's actually a course that we took on that about cultural differences and reactions. So,
yeah.
Tammy?
Hi. I mean, I'm going to take a harder stance here because there is also, I totally agree with Nicole's approach as well, or everybody's approach. But we also have our due diligence when, short payments or money's not received of, reminders and, on the 5th and the 10th is a demand. And, we don't want to get to a default situation or anything, but, and just that friendly reminder, the lease is, we have to oblige by the lease, rent is due on the first of each month. Now, if it is a short payment because of a step up, sometimes yes, like you mentioned, others have mentioned about resending the rental payment schedule and saying, hey, you know what, there was this step up and there was this short payment. But if there's no response, because, some tenants don't respond, then we have to take the stronger approach.
Yeah, so I've always been a little bit more firm in my emails. Now, if there is somebody whose PAP or check did not match for the first time in like a year or two, I'm super kind. But, when it's your repeat tenant, there has to be a bit firmness there. So some of the things that I had just jotted down was, does your email say, hi, Tim, you owe $352, please pay? Or does your email also provide a rental statement like you guys are mentioning? Does your email also remind them of quad real access? Because now that we're rolling that out, giving them that option to be like, hey, by the way, you could do this for yourself. Does your email offer PAP options? Because if there is a PAP, 90% of the time, your payment probably would not be short. And then also, do you offer to walk through the charges or the lease with them? Now, that sounds like a lot of work, but it's actually just offering. So to, take note that a point that Ritz-Carlton made was that when we offer our tenants and customers options, it makes them feel empowered. And 90% of the time, they're not going to want to walk through the lease charges, but just, even that offering to them was recommended. So the next one is you're walking through the lobby and a person appears to be lost. And it doesn't really matter if it's, office, retail, or whatnot. You are in a building that you work for, and you appear to see a lost person. Is there any idea on what would be your approach? Like, actually think in real life, what would you do in this situation? I mean, Nicole?
I usually will approach them and just ask them if they need any help. Ask them if I can give them any directions. I worked for years close to the cruise ship terminal. So every summer, you'd have tourists kind of standing around looking at the sky.
Well, they all appear lost.
Yeah. That's like 3,000 of them. so everybody kind of in that area would just pick a tourist and kind of give them a little bit of guidance, right? So, yeah. So it's kind of like reflex. Yeah, it's just a reflexive action. So, yeah. Yeah, and sometimes people would say, "No, I'm fine." Other times people, are happy to have some help. A lot of the time, if it's like just SkyTrain or whatever, you just can show them how the machines work or whatever, like just see what they need and give them a little bit of help. Yeah.
Absolutely. Roberta?
Being Winnipeg Square sometimes can be a really big puzzle. If I notice somebody seemed to be lost, again, like Nicole said, I would go and I would ask them if they needed any help. And sometimes I would walk them in the right direction, like part of the way, so that they could see where they needed to go next, just to sort of help them get on the right track of where they were going.
Oh, that's awesome. So some of the things that I, just to contemplate, I work in a mall. I pass people all the time that I know. Do you walking by? You're busy. You smile and wave. You direct them to concierge. Tell them if they're looking for something, concierge is over there. Do you show them where a directory is where they can help themselves? Do you point to where they need to go? Oh, it's down there. Or do you volunteer to take them to the unit? So these face-to-face interactions, the Ritz-Carlton mentioned 10-10 rule, where if they're in 10 feet of you, the first 10 seconds the interaction needs to happen within the first 10 seconds. They also mentioned that when someone thanks you for what you've done, you don't answer, "No worries," because that is a negative connotation. I say no worries all the time, so this is a hard one. But you say absolutely, because that's a positive. They also say that, even if they aren't looking for anything and you're passing somebody by that, it's a tenant, you met them before, whatnot, you should at least smile or wave, which is better. Hey. So the next one, a vendor asks when something will be paid. So, hello, when will invoice blank, blank, blank be paid? What are the key points that we would mention here in your email communication?
I would advise when our payment schedules are, see if they're on EFT or check payment. If they're not on EFT, I would provide them with the option of going on to EFT for quicker payment.
No, that's
and
great.
I would see if it's been paid yet or not, and advise them that the payment's gone out on Thursday, and then today's Friday. So if it's a check payment, you should get it by Wednesday next week.
So that's perfect. What some of the things I thought about was, some people would answer, I don't know when you're going to be paid, Tim. You just say on the next check run. Or do you provide them with an actual date that this payment is going to be made, which speaks to Roberta's point? Do you clue how it'll be made? I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're in a transition from check to EFT where, something. You just let them know how they're going to be receiving that payment. And then to Roberta's point, do you offer EFT information so that, if they're looking for payment, they're obviously collecting their AR fairly regularly. And so an EFT payment would obviously ameliorate any delays. So the Ritz-Carlton, just to that I don't know point, the Ritz-Carlton actually says never say I don't know. Always say that I'll get you somebody who can answer. So I stole this from the Office 2024 PowerPoint, just to let you know that it is the quadrille ideals to put our customers first and seamless interactions and anticipate everyone's needs and engagement being positive. So it's not it's not just this course I took in Ritz-Carlton telling us. It fits right in. I'm definitely not preaching this stuff from a high horse. I do not radiate rainbows. But I noticed that a portion of this course spoke to me, and it's likely because I could do better. Ritz-Carlton says that there should be a freshness and excitedness to every interaction. I was like, oh boy, here we go. I was like, I almost spat my coffee out, but contemplating that, I realized that there was space to do better. Ritz-Carlton says whether it's the first time or the 500th time, you need that courteous consistency and try to focus on the human, not the task, which is hard because if somebody, the donut shop guy comes in and asks for a rental statement for the 10th time in 4 months, like I'm ready to break. Like I don't know, how to smile. Absolutely. But remember, staying positive does not mean that you have to be happy all the time. So this meme spoke to me. It's the it's like get out of the gates and I can do this, and then it beats you down. So what are the problems with service excellence and continuous improvement? Because I will tell you, there's a huge one, and Nicole touched on it earlier. I don't know if anybody wants to take a guess. There's actually no real right answer to the problem either. So what determines time efficiency versus operational excellence? If time efficiency demands speed and task prioritization, then how do we fill that operational excellence portion that mandates consistent high quality outcomes?
I can maybe talk about that a little bit. What I've experienced in my career is that you have to build in quiet space for the efficient activities where you're not going to have external demands, especially when you have customers that are unpredictable, so similar to what you're dealing with, Patricia, in a mall where you can't plan your day because you don't know who's going to pop in through the door, right? But if you come in to work early or you stay in, your work day, starts at 10 and goes to 6, or it starts at 6 and it goes till 2, that you try and build in some space where you've got work time, right? That will allow you to bang off your emails, right? And then when you have customer time, you're not trying to multitask, right? You can't be answering emails and talking to someone and providing support to them. That's those two things, because the person receiving the support will view your body language and the way you're speaking with them as you're busy and you're just squeezing them in where you can, where I think you really, in order to provide that service excellence that we're after, you have to be very present for that person. Yeah.
Yes, the freshness and the excitedness.
Yeah, and I wouldn't call it freshness and excitedness. I would call it presence. Like, is that I'm paying attention to you and I'm trying to understand your needs and I'm trying to give you what you need. Yeah.
You have the floor. I am. I'm listening to what you're saying.
Yeah. Well, I'm here to learn from the rest of these lovely folks. So, come on, girls, chime in here.
I get there's you know what I came in with some ideas. So I'm like, okay, so what are some of the challenges with time efficiency? What are some of the pressures that are pulling us into this rat race? So one of them is workload. I think the workload is too much. You know, we're busy, and so that I think sometimes pushes us to feel like we've got to bang off these things, right? Another thing that I thought was, maybe contributing to time efficiency was meetings. I feel like, man, I'll have an entire day of meetings and training, and then I'll be like, my job didn't get done, like my core job. Like that's a problem. A vacation time. Now, for people that have been in the company for a while and have quite a bit of vacation time, and we're always told that we need to take it and you're not encouraged to lose it or carry it over. How do we manage our workload and being time efficient if we're also being told to take time off? I think that's a contributor.
Sure, it's huge, right?
Yeah. And then mental health. On the opposite spectrum, sometimes you just, I don't know, can't bang off things as much as you liked. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that can contribute to that time efficiency, whether it be a pro or a con. Personal life, it's kind of, we need vacations to protect our mental health, right? But sometimes when you come back, because your work is not being done, and you come back to a landslide and you have to dig yourself out of emails for 3 weeks, that makes your mental health go back down. And so what are some of the challenges surrounding service excellence? Like, what might be difficult to give it our best all the time? And it's kind of similar answers. One, that was mine, not in hospitality. So I went to accounting school and I started in the accounting department, and I was going to be an accountant, and somehow I ended up out here, which is great, my choice. But like now I'm shaking hands and kissing babies. I'm not used to doing what the Ritz-Carlton is putting out there. Another one for me, RBF. My natural face is that. Like, you should see my mom. She looked like a basset hound. Like, this is my face. So I have to try so hard to really make sure I have that smile on my face all the time, even though I'm not unhappy. It's just I don't look, the part. Another challenge would be a problem customer. How do you give operational excellence every single time 100% when it's Tim from the donut shop again? You're like, okay, or maybe they're rude to you, or, stuff like that. Yeah, Nicole is saying we don't take time for ourselves. Yeah, because, and there is that pressure that, just finish this task or finish this email, and don't worry, and then I'll do it, and then you don't eat, and it's like 4:00 and you're like, oh, I haven't eaten today. So I think that mental health and personal life also play a role in being difficult to give our best all the time. So, you know, I think the best that we can do is just make sure that we are attending the training sessions available to us and we're devouring those QRGs, those tape sessions, and learning as much as possible. Because by improving our knowledge base, we'll be able to resolve issues correctly the first time and provide an improved service, which contributes to both time efficiency and service excellence. So, really just, trying to nip those issues in the bud and trying to do it right the first time and hopefully sending Tim off. We're getting sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I was really glad to see you listing personal life there, especially for us at work, because why are we working? Like, what's the point of working, right? We're working for our families, and our families deserve time with us, and they deserve like healthy us, right? Like, yeah.
Well, I have I have a 2-year-old, so I know, and I'm pretty sure I'm like, how did you grow? I'm like, because I spend more time with my work people than I do with my child.
There's somebody on this call who has a nickname Mimi, and it's like, we discussed that Mimi's very important. Mimi's a very important person to the people who love her, and so yeah, it's like, yeah. So, and the same, your time with your child is invaluable, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, for sure. It's, it's a day-to-day struggle.
Yeah. And you know what, you have to balance it off, right? And and sometimes it means, that, not everything gets done, right? Sometimes you have to move things around a little bit, but maybe you have some certain things that are absolute. Like, I have to be home every night for bed and bath and book, like, those are non-negotiable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and having a supportive boss also helps too. But I think that some people in our day-to-day jobs, like they'll, instead of taking ownership and diving in, which this is all about, is that they will kind of put it on the back burner, and then until their hand gets smacked, and then why haven't you learned this? All the training has been rolled out to you, and then you're behind. So it is finding that balance.
Yeah, and being behind, you're always in stress mode too, right?
Yeah.
You're always panic, right? So it is hard to juggle for sure, and to be able to just say, okay, you know what, that can wait till tomorrow, or that's going to have to wait till next week, depending on cutoffs, close schedules, training, whatever's going on in our lives, right? So
yeah.
So
no is a full sentence. Yeah.
Right? Exactly. And that's my hardest word to learn.
Yeah.
Right?
Me too.
Yeah, we were told to do that workday training in like November of last year, and we said no, we're not doing it because we don't have time.
Is. I
It's
think
a full
it's
sentence.
recognizing that work-life balance, being able to say no, but also making sure that. So Kavitha and I were both honest about not rolling out the P2P Elevate training in the fall, and what they had wanted us to roll it out. And I don't hesitate for a second thinking that Kavitha was not rolling it out because she didn't want to. But I think and I certainly wasn't, but I think there is a fine line when sometimes people ignore or try to think that some things will go away if you don't address it. So it's incorporating, and I'm not saying stay late and, ignore your family and get stressed out, but there has to be some sort of ownership on that piece too, about making sure that we are doing what's asked of us, but while keeping it in the parameters of a safe and healthy environment for yourself. So I'll just, I was just going to recap like kind of some of the things I talked about. So I talked about being an AS learner and being an autodidact, and they're really the same. I'd encourage you, if anything spoke out to you today, to, jot anything down, put it on a sticky note or OneNote, something that, helps remind you to exercise one of the behaviors in the future. Becoming an effective learner involves transitioning from passive information consumption to active, self-directed learning. You're going to set personalized learning goals, cultivate a growth mindset, practice self-assessment, utilize techniques like testing and teaching, and very similarly, becoming an autodidact or a self-teacher involves developing a proactive mindset, setting clear learning goals, applying knowledge through action, and fostering the self-discipline to make sure you're learning daily. You also utilize diverse resources, like what I was saying is the tapings, the QRGs, the in-office training, like trying to make sure that you're doing that as much as you can, again, while balancing work life, but pretending all that other stuff doesn't exist is not going to be helpful, I don't think, for your job. Yes, taking initiative. Yes. So, yes, I didn't get into it, but I am dealing with some of that right now, whereas there's a bit of, okay, well, why hasn't this been done yet? You've been asked 10 times by the property minister group, but so how did we find that today? I mean, we're just going to kind of wrap up. There's a few extra things here. Did I make any sense? Did you grasp the concept that self-assessment is your best performance review ever? It's not just in work. You will be a better friend, family member, and just personal around if you can self-assess and take initiative and ownership of learning in and out of work. Does anybody want to say about how they're already doing it in their life, or an example, or how they might do it in the future, or might encourage their direct reports to become more autodidactic? I don't know if if there's any comments about how they might use it more, or I mean, again, with this property supervisor group, I think that we're probably in this group because we are utilizing these concepts. Accepting that your day does not always go as planned. Yes, I don't like that one. I try really hard to make sure everything's in line, and my anxiety tells me I did everything right. Why is this going? So I'm going to I would mention that the of for as learning that I was talking about today relates to another concept that I had learned around surrounding shifting your mindset into the ultimate mindset, which is a growth mindset. We can definitely cover it another time. Yeah, but I hope you see this as personal growth and not as let's pick apart all the things you do wrong. I don't want you to self-review and go, oh, geez, I'm not doing this and this and this. I want you to look at it as a learning opportunity to, obviously expand. So, okay. Well, so that concludes my lesson, but there's a couple little things. Oh, I'm sorry, Emma, did you have something to say?
Oh, I was just going to point out that the bit that you talked about how, like you gave the example of retailers, but people from different cultural backgrounds, and how, the fact that like them owing money can be, well, I mean, it's stressful, but you don't realize like from a cultural background, like how that can be for them. So I never actually really thought about it in that way. So next time I, will email a tenant about rent or something, it's definitely something I'll like to keep in mind, because I honestly never thought about it that way. So yeah, it was a really great thing to take away from it.
One of our courses that we took talked about how in some Asian countries, speaking up and talking back to the teacher, not talking back, speaking up in general is like you don't do that. You don't do that to the teacher. So from a teacher's perspective, you might think that this individual is not engaged, but they're being respectful by not, because in their country, it's just really, you really have to focus in on all the different, because we're so multicultural in Canada. So there's a bunch of different things going on. But good, I'm glad you got something from that. That was my hope. I'd be very gracious if you guys could complete a short feedback form for me. I'd be able to review it and learn from the comments, self-improvement. So I'm just going to post it in the chat. And then while I do that, Wendy, do you have something?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to mention too, like with our group, we're training a lot of different people across the country. A lot of people do have, English as their second language, right? And just being recognizing that maybe they will take a little longer to learn things, and just to be kind, right? And make sure that they know it's okay if it takes them a little longer to learn things, right? So that's a huge part of our job, is just being kind to people and knowing that we are a safe place to come to for training, right?
And to add to that too is some people learn at different pace, and some people are more, some people are visual. Some people, I know for me, I have to have a pen and, like, if you give me a pamphlet, a booklet, and then teach me, I make my own notes. If you're just teaching me on the screen, when you shut the screen off, I forget what you just taught me. So, people learn in different ways. So understanding that.
Yeah. That's why, using our recordings for training is huge, because they can, go back to the training after if they want to self-serve, rather than just reaching out with every single question they have, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I speak perfect English, and I love the trainings because I can pause, stop, make sure that's where I'm at, go back and go, hold on a minute. And then I like that and it's not, it's not an English factor. It's just how we learn. Just to mention, I did put the feedback form there, and then it's just so that it is all anonymous, just to make you guys more comfortable. All you do is just drop it. It's all Adobe fillable. You don't have to print it out or do any of that stuff. And then all you have to do is just upload it to the Google Drive. And I'm just, sorry, Nicole, I'm going to send you a link to my blog page that speaks about this, just for some further learning. And there's actually a TED Talk on Autodidacts, and he probably does a much better job than me. So I'm going to just drop that in the chat. And Nicole, please go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say about when you're dealing with people, not just like teaching them, but also doing customer service with them, is sometimes we say things one way and then we just keep repeating it the same way, and think that people are going to understand if we repeat it enough times. But something that I've found very effective is just simplify what you're saying. Try and say it a different way using different words, and try and keep your words, as simple as possible, right? So sometimes it's the business, jargon that's throwing people off, and they're not in our business, so things that might be obvious to us aren't necessarily obvious to everyone. So sometimes we have to adjust our communication style for that. Further to what Wendy was saying as well. Yeah.
Yes, I need to, and I need to stop yelling at the people that come in, because I think that English as a second language means deaf for some reason. I don't mean to do it, but I speak louder. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you really have to adjust to the individual that walks in. Well, I mean, I can't thank you guys enough. This has been a long haul for 5 years. I really didn't expect anything that happened in my life in the last 5 years to happen, which made school extremely difficult. But I also really didn't understand that I was actually going to complete the diploma, and I kept taking course after course, and then all of a sudden, here I am. So having this group to be so patient enough for me to present, and especially with some of my technical difficulties, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. If you can fill out the feedback form whenever you had time, it would also be I'd be very grateful. Thank you. Thank you, Janelle. Yeah, the confidence portion, it's just, I'm not, like, I only just learned this 3 or 4 months ago myself, and was thinking about the ways that it interacted with the training and quadrilles, service excellence ideals. And it's just tough when you're not teaching something that you're not a pro at. So awesome. Well, I will, let's see, shut off the recording, and feel free to drop off. Oh God, I thought it didn't record. It did. Thanks. So I'll stop the recording.